Today we have a real treat for you. We're taking a look at the new Axopar 29, but even better than that, we're taking a look at two Axopar 29s. We've got two different layouts here. We will of course be giving this a good old-fashioned boat test, but we're also going to compare the different layouts. I'm going to give you my opinion about which layout would be best for me in the way that I use a boat, and I'll leave it up to you to decide which one's better for you. This one, I'd call it the convertible. That one, the cross cabin behind me, I would call that the SUV. But before we do any of it, let's have a drive of this new hull and see how it performs. One of the most enjoyable things, of course, about owning an Axopar is actually driving it. But before we get into that fun part of the day, let's have a talk about this new hull design. The Axopar 29 replaced, of course, the Axopar 28. This boat was launched in around April, or this model came online in around April of this year. And what they've done is increase the flare in the bow. So as I'm sitting here looking forward, I can see there is much more room than there was previously available. The other thing they've done is raise the deck height, so there's more storage as well. And it's not like there wasn't a lot of storage on the old model, but now they've amplified that storage. So if you're out for a day, there's plenty of places that you can store all of the things you need. Of course, underneath where I'm standing or seated at the moment, they still run that twin step hull design. Now what that does, of course, is reduces the friction, gives you better fuel economy, better performance, but also better comfort. So I've brought that speed up now to around that 29, 30 knots, and it's a really comfortable speed for these boats. It really does dance across the water beautifully. I'm just going to cross the wake here. We'll get that out of the way. But around 29, 30 knots, this boat is effortless. It's extremely comfortable, and I can feel how well it's actually running over that water. I'm using around 27 litres per hour. I've just had a drive of this boat, and I've got to say twin 200s could be my new thing on board these Axopars. It is exceptionally fast across the water, but the acceleration you get all the way through the rev range is there for absolute enjoyment while you drive. The thing to remember with all of these hulls is the comfort and the performance. Like every Axopar that I step on, and I know I've said this a bunch of times before, it feels like a smaller boat. It handles like a smaller boat. You go into a corner, it turns sharply, not dangerously, not like you're hanging on, it beds over beautifully, and it really does lean into that turn, and you've got acceleration there on tap when you need it. Fuel usage figures, when you're running around 30 knots, which is a really comfortable speed for this particular boat, it handles it very easily indeed. You're using just around 30 or just over 30 litres per engine per hour. This boat is more than capable of 40 knots plus. They're brand new engines. I haven't really given it a long run at flat out, but you're going to be using over 60 litres per engine per hour. It still is impressively fun to drive, as I would expect of every Axopar I step on. That DNA that they build into every hull, every boat, even when they're creating a new hull layout or a new top deck, the performance is still there. It's the same as you would get on every boat you step on, and I think that's the hallmarks of a great boat builder. No matter which model you step on board, they all feel exactly the same. It's an impressive result from what is a relatively young boat builder overall. We've had the drive, and that was fun, but what do you do with your boat when you actually pull up into a bay like we have today? And what layout is going to be best for you? Where I'm sitting at the bow, this has been redesigned, as I mentioned earlier. There's more space up here, and the boats are essentially the same up until about that point just there, just beyond where I'm sitting. There's a cabin at the front. There's also a toilet down there. Now you can option that to have upholstery and be very comfortable for a camping / overnighting feel, or you can leave it bare and just have the toilet down there, meaning it's convenient for people on board. But the space they've created at the bow is immense. There's plenty of room to stretch out. You can put a sun pad here, really lie down and enjoy the space, or have face-to-face seating with this optional bench seat here on the starboard side. meaning people can sit down here and relax. This is how I would like to have my boat. I know that I would end up sitting up here, relaxing and having a conversation, perhaps sitting in that forward-facing seat there and then laying down in the sun. That is the perfect afternoon in my opinion. We'll start moving towards the rear of the boat, and that's where they really do become very obviously different. And when you're talking about engineering and design, and that design ethos that Axopar have, where they're maximising the usable space across the entire footprint of the boat, that is not more evident than in these walkways. You've got a wide walkway, completely unimpeded in any way either side of the boat, and both the Suntop and the cross cabin do feature this walkway, getting you from the bow all the way down to the stern without having to step over, around or through anything on the way. To save confusion, we're going to keep working on this Suntop version. This is my preference, as I mentioned earlier. And as we move back, you can see that there is still a lot of open space on this boat. The seating arrangement, you've got 2 helm seats with a helm in front. It's a beautiful layout, very easy to use. And in fact, it's easy to drive whether you're seated or standard. Steering wheel in the right place, throttle easy to grab. You've got those 2 huge displays in front of you that are really integrated into the dash. They haven't just been stuck on there. You can see that they've taken the time to design that to fit in perfectly with the rest of the boat. Overhead, you've got a large sunroof, open either side and at the back. And the windscreen provides pretty much the protection for this section of the boat. There is a full sunroof that opens either manually or optionally electronically on both this and also the cross cabin that we'll have a look at in a moment. I love this seating arrangement. I can create a space just behind the helm seats where my guests can sit down and entertain themselves, have a chat, drink a wine. You can also turn this into a large sun pad, which creates a very versatile use for this space. This to me is again how I would use a boat, having friends on board, sitting down, relaxing and enjoying the sunshine and warm weather you get particularly in Sydney and further north. It's important to mention, I forgot to mention this earlier, that there are obviously different layouts you can get. You don't just have to have this seating arrangement that we've got here. You can option up to have an aft cabin. Now, if you've got children, like I do, too many of them, perhaps like me, you can have an aft cabin, put the kids down here, and you can use that forward cabin in front of the helm position for the parents. Have a little bit of peace and quiet while the kids are down the back. But it's important to note, you do have a variety of different layouts you can choose on board the Suntop. When it comes to fridges and sinks and places to prepare food and put things, you've got a fridge and a sink located underneath the helm seat. Now below me here is the sink. You can also option up and have a fridge and a sink located at the rear on the port side. So if you need more space, you can certainly do that, and Axopar do provide an option for you to create more room for washing, tidying and also more drinks if you need them on board. Now again, the way I use a boat is that I love entertaining, but I also like to participate in water sports, and this layout, the Suntop, is perfect for that. You've got this optional water sports tower. You can wakeboard, tow inflatables, get the kids out there, anything you want to do. You can attach it to here, tow it around, have a good old time. But you've also got a nice open aft deck space here, and I think for me, that's something that I would enjoy being able to use. Get ready, wakeboards here, go for a snorkel, throw your gear up. You've got this space to be able to put it. It's out of everyone's way. And if you really want to stand around here and have a drink in the afternoon, you can also do that. There's plenty of room for that too. The optional fridge and sink are located just down here, and it's an excellent use of the space. It would just be storage otherwise, but it's a very handy place, especially if you have an optional barbecue located just to the right of that. That's what I would do. So of an afternoon with my kids, I could sit down and cook up a little sausage sandwich maybe, feed them, keep them happy, but also feed my guests if I have them on board. On the starboard side, you've got a deep storage locker that gives you plenty of room for fenders, mooring ropes, etc. They're out of the way. Even tow ropes can go in there. They're out of the way. People aren't tripping over them, and everything on board is nice and neat and still very easy to move around. The difference here between the Suntop and the cross cabin, the obvious one, is obviously the cabin. Now the cabin ends roughly here, and the cross cabin then has an optional wet bar that's located outside the cabin, but adjacent to the rear deck. If you're someone that wants to maximise the hours you spend on board your boat, or you're boating in a cooler climate, say Victoria, or particularly the south of Australia, then that type of layout will enable you to do that. You can have a diesel heater inside the cabin, keeping it warm at all times, but even without it, you've got the sun coming through the windows, and it is still light and airy, of course, and people can sit in there and have a good conversation. There's a table, excellent seating opportunity. The sun coming through the windows will really warm that cabin up, and it means you can stay out for a lot longer than you might otherwise in a cooler climate. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that Axopar have hit the mark with the Axopar 29. It has all of the DNA you expect from this boat builder: performance, comfort, ease of movement, and most importantly, ease of use. Now, unashamedly, I am a fair weather boater, and for me that means the Suntop would be my preference. But if you're boating in a cooler climate, you may want something like this cross cabin to give you more versatility and a longer use during the day. But no matter which boat you choose, you're going to be on a winner with an Axopar 29.